All right, welcome back, guys, to another video. I want to talk about the situation going on with Draymond Green, and I understand that he had his the suspension happened, and allegedly he was supposed to have gotten some kind of help and gotten some counseling. And we understand when you're going through some type of mental or internal dilemma, it takes much more than just a couple of sessions of counseling to remediate or rectify any ailment that's going on within your thinking, within your psychology. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trained in anything. This is just me speaking, giving my opinion. I think what's going on with Draymond Green, and this is in reference to the game that happened last night, the double overtime game with the Lakers and Golden State Warriors. I am shocked that he's still unhinged. You could look at the foul that he committed against Anthony Davis when he hit him across the face. You could also tell there was another call that happened where he got the call. It was in his favor, but he kind of pushed the guy. And then there was another incident directly right after the AD incident when one of the players for the Lakers, I forgot his name, he's a defender, he's a 3-and-D guy. He's like telling the referee to, hey, replay that to see what just happened, because obviously Anthony Davis's teammates can see that he had gotten hit across the face. So, hey, we want to take a look at that to see if that's a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2, or if that's a penalty worthy of being ejected from the game. Then you see Draymond Green just go off unhinged. He's like, you BAN, you ass nigga. I don't want to say the word, but he called him the B word, the A word, and the N word. You BAN. He called that to the guy for the Lakers. I forgot his. I'm horrible with names. Now I can't believe I forgot his name. And he said that repeatedly, but you can still tell that Draymond is still Draymond. There's nothing that counseling is going to do to change his temperament, and his temperament is pretty much part of his psychological makeup, and that kind of change doesn't occur overnight, not even in months. It takes years of dedication and meditation and a change in the way you live, the lifestyle that you put forward, how you eat, how you sleep, how you think. It's a work in progress. It took work to get Draymond to where he is today, being a person that I think personally is mentally ill. He's sick. And I'm going to read a comment that I wrote on. I didn't write it, but I wrote notes down to make sure that I don't forget, I don't miss out on this point that I want to make on this video. Let me try to find it here. Give me a second, because I know everyone is hitting on Draymond about he's crazy, he's this, he's that. Well, rather than using terms that are meant to be derogatory and insulting, when I say he's mentally ill, I really mean that in all seriousness. I'm not saying it as a way to call him names. Oftentimes you hear people say, man, you crazy, man, but they say that in a way to insult you, but not knowing that there is a medical condition underneath the classification called mental illness, and it has a wide spectrum. There are many diagnoses that could come from being mentally ill. You could be paranoid, you could be bipolar, you could be schizophrenic, you could be bipolar schizophrenic, you could be a manic depressant, it's a lot of things that you could be labeled as. Let me see, can I find these notes that I wrote down? Give me a second here. And I think this is it here. Yeah, this is what I said, all right? I said that Draymond is sick, okay? He's sick. He's mentally ill, and he is incapable from a biochemical perspective to regulate the signals sent to his brain via cells through the annals of neurotransmitters. So we all know that how you respond to anything in life, whether it's taking criticism or whenever you respond to high intense situations, is predicated on your biochemistry. And your biochemistry is what dictates your temperament. Yeah, there are other factors involved, like if you came from a family that's known for being very hot-tempered, people who got angry a lot. Well, from an epigenetic standpoint, when you were in your mother's womb, that child that's in the mother's womb through electrolytes, that's what they call epigenetics, through electrolytes, that's the fluid that's immersed in the amniotic fluid that's immersed within the placenta. Babies, they feel the electricity in full form of anger. They can taste anger. They can see the color of anger. They feel the spectrum of anger in ways that we in the physical realm can't see it. We see anger for what it is in the physical realm, and we conceptualize it and say, okay, that's what anger is. This person is acting out. He's angry. And that's as far as it goes. But when that kid is developing in the womb, if they are surrounded by people who are always angry, they're learning how to be angry. They're being developed in how to be angry. So the best teacher is to experience it. So when a kid comes out and you hear a mother or a father say, man, you get angry a lot just like your mom, or you got a hot temper just like your dad. Well, they learned it when they were in the womb, because obviously people around that child, when that child was developing in the womb, got angry. They felt the energy of their environment. So I say that to say this, that Draymond Green, his issue is biochemical, okay? And the neurotransmitters to his brain, he doesn't have the ability to self-regulate in high intense situations. And high intense situations will be competition that he's in. He can't help himself. His impulsivity under stress within the aura of competition makes Draymond a victim of his own internal makeup. He's a victim. And I know you guys can't see it that way, because you guys see on the surface that he's hitting players. So the players that he's hurting or hitting, they would be considered the victims. But when you're talking about mental illness, the first victim that mental illness captures is the person, is the host. Draymond Green is the host. So look at it like the movie Venom, when the symbiote enters Brock, right? So Brock is a victim of that symbiote. So you can look at anger and the impulsivity of Draymond Green as a symbiote. It's a biochemical component, but people can say spirits. You know, people who are deep and steeped into religion will say, oh, it's a demon, or he's being controlled by spirits. But no, it's his biochemistry. He just can't do it. No matter how much counseling sessions he goes through, he can't do it. So he's a victim of his own internal makeup first. And then in the outside world, when we see the basketball games unfolding and you see him hitting players or kicking players or slapping players or backhanding players, that's just a symptom of what's going on with him internally. He can't control it. It's like a baby crying out for help. He's crying out for help, but I know it's hard for people to see that. He needs chemical restraints infused with counseling. So the counseling sessions, I'm not saying that should be eradicated or we should do away with the counseling sessions. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that counseling alone will not do it. And especially counseling in that short amount of time. When he was out and got the counseling, that's not going to help him. I mean, it's a start. It's somewhere. It's better than nothing. It's better than zero. But him coming back to think that he's going to be a new guy, no. He's still going to be who he is, because the problem is internal. So we need not to blame the patient. So if a person is sick who comes into a hospital, we don't blame the patient. We just try to make sure that they are healed, that they are fixed, that the symptoms of their illness is dealt with from a causation standpoint. We could deal with the causes. So rather than us point fingers at Draymond, I think we should start looking deeper within and saying, looking at him as a victim. And it's just unfortunate that when you see his theatrics on the basketball court, it's kind of hard to see him as a victim. You tend to look at the other players that he's hitting or fouling excessively, be it flagrant 1 or flagrant 2. You're looking at it from that perspective and say, man, he's victimizing other people. Well, he's a victim first. Hurt people hurt people. I know it sounds like a cliche terminology. It sounds very corny and cheesy, but that's true. If you're hurt, you hurt people. You could tell he's very stressed. He's in his mid-30s, I think, and he's already graying a lot. That's a sign. I mean, that could be hereditary too and genetics, but that's a sign of stress. He doesn't want to admit that he has an issue. Even when he had hit not Nikola Jokic, I think when he had turned around and smacked him, the center for the Phoenix Suns, he said he didn't mean to. That if he meant to, he would have said it. No, you meant to. You meant to. He's very prideful. So those things are going to be character traits that are going to be a hindrance to his ability to get help. Because first you have to admit that you have a problem, and I don't think he thinks he has a problem. He may hint to it, but until he actually confesses and actually comes out and says I have mental issues, That's the only way he's going to be able to be helped. Because first, you need the admittance from the host. And when you admit things out of your mouth, your cells receive it. I made videos on that before about how when you speak certain things, your cells actually receive what you're saying. And because the way you interpret those words that you say, it sends messages to those cells have cellular memory, then the cells start to emit those neurotransmitters to your brain, then your brain gets it, then you start to act the way you believe that you are. Because if you believe that you have a problem, you're already putting yourself in a vulnerable state, which makes you more susceptible and open to get help. But if you don't think you have a problem, you close yourself off. And anyone who's actually suggesting that you need help, you're going to shun them, you're going to take offense to it, and you're not going to take the help that you actually need. So Draymond is a victim of his own internal makeup, folks. Rather than us not talking about him, saying he's this, he's that, or he wouldn't do this in the 90s because he'll be scared. No, he would have did this in any era. What would happen is that he would be getting into more fights. Like there would be actually mutual combat on the basketball court. Just now, he hits players and players go down and then they call a technical or whatever and then he gets kicked out. But I don't believe that he's some kind of I don't believe he's like he would be intimidated. I think that even the intensity of basketball as it was in the mid 80s and a little bit in the early 90s, especially with those Miami Heat and New York Knicks teams. Remember the Davis brothers for Indiana Pacers? I don't think that if Draymond Green played in that era, I think that his antics would be amplified. Why? Because it was so intense. The physicality was so intense. So you got to understand when a person is suffering mental illness, there's certain antecedents. We call it antecedents or setting events that occurs that are outside the person's control. So competition is outside their control. I mean, they can take themselves out of the game and not play, but he's an athlete. That's his job, so he has to play. But when players are running into you, or you're bumping into somebody, or you're going through a pick, or something doesn't go your way, or you feel the intensity of the game, or it's in the fourth quarter and you're trying to win, all those are factors that plays with your biochemistry. Those are all stimulants, and those are all antecedents, and they're happening rapidly, and they're happening fast. And it's hard to control these variables because there's so many things going on. You have fans screaming, you have players chirping, you have people chirping in your ear, you have sweat dripping on. It's just too much things going on. So when you have a person that's always in flight or fight mode, all right, that's operating off of your amygdala. That would be what Draymond Green is going through. Immediately something happens that doesn't go his way. The ability to self-regulate his behavior in times of high intense situations, the impulsivity takes control. So he's not the kind of person that's gonna, let me think about what I'm gonna do. He's just gonna just act emotionally. He's led and he's led by his emotions. But he can't see that because when it happens, he's almost like shocked, like, oh my God, I just did that. And he kind of runs back to the locker room. And then during the press conferences, he almost has to kind of save face and be like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. If I meant to, I would have said it. I didn't try to hit him. No, I don't think that he's going out there with premeditative intent to hurt people. I just think in those times, those incremental spaces of high intense situations, he snaps. And it's repeated, and you can see it in the games. In high intense situations, he snaps. So that's what's going on with Draymond Green. I don't think he's going out there to intentionally hurt players. I just think that he's a victim of mental illness. He's mentally ill. And mental illness covers a broad spectrum of things, but he's definitely mentally ill because there's no amount of money that can be taken away from him that's going to make him stop. So that's how you know that it's not a money thing. You can suspend him all you want. It doesn't matter. He still comes back. He allegedly started counseling. You would have thought that, coming back, he would be on his best behavior. But even yesterday, he's still unhinged. It's just a matter of time till he puts himself out of the league. All right? There's just so much that the league can take. And we also have to protect the other players as well. Okay? And Draymond is just, he's a victim. He's a victim of his own internal makeup. That's all it is. And it can be suppressed. It can be suppressed by diet, food, certain nutrients, sleeping, meditation. There are a lot of things he can do to curb that because he's too impulsive. And like I said, if he played in the 80s or in the early 90s where the game was more physical, he would be doing this more. And you guys may say, oh, no. He'll be too scared. He's only doing it now because he can get away. That's no. Draymond will be 10 times worse in the mid 80s and the early 90s if he played back then. Because that would be in his wheelhouse. He's already physical. They're already physical, so he'll be impulsive. He'll smack them. They'll smack him back. He'll be fighting. I don't think Draymond is afraid to fight. No one's fighting him back. That's the problem. He's hitting players, but no one's hitting him back. I don't think he's afraid of combat. He walked up to what's the Poole when he hit Poole, the guy that he hit in practice. Now some of you guys will say, well, he knew he can get away with it. Well, not really. Poole could have hit him before Draymond hit him. I don't think he's afraid of confrontation. I just think that he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care. So if the physicality of the game was much more physical back then, he would be fighting more and hitting more and doing most of these acts more. So it's not that he's choosing, because therefore, when people speak like that, it lets me know that they do not understand the psychological components of how the brain functions. If you put an animal that's already instinctively a wild animal in a wild environment, they'll thrive because they're wild. If you put that wild animal in a much more tamed and subtle environment, the animal will still be wild, but the degree of its wildness will be tempered. So if the league is softer now and Draymond is not being as violent, or he's being violent in a softer league, how do you think he would be in a much more violent physical league? He'll be more violent and physical because it's innately in him to be unhinged. He's impulsive. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. That's the antecedent. The setting event is the events that occurs before the behavior. So when the behavior actually hits and happens, you have to rewind the tape and see what happened before. The game was much more intense then. So if the game was much more intense then, that means that the behaviors that he exudes that are intense would be increased back then. So this idea that, oh, he wouldn't do that back then because he wouldn't do that with the Davis. No, he's not headhunting, but in the midst of competition, he will foul hard. He will do a little things that's dirty. He'll do that. And if you hit him, he'll fight you back. I don't think Draymond is afraid of a fight. The problem is no one in the NBA is fighting him back. All right? So yeah, Draymond Green, the psychology of Draymond Green. He's mentally ill, folks. I mean, let's just say for what it is. If you probably look down his family history, he probably has family members who've suffered it. Sometimes it could be genetically passed down through epigenetics. It could be in the blood. It is what it is. I mean, him being fiery and feisty as he is does have certain positive traits. There's some positivity about it, meaning that it makes him a good leader. He's fiery, he's passionate. But there's a line that he crosses oftentimes that makes it more of a detriment to his basketball team than it being a positive for his basketball team. All right, so thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to make this video about Draymond Green. And he's a victim of mental illness. He's mentally ill. All right, thank you guys for watching. Bye.